Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night to the people of the internet. My name is Chris, and welcome to the Impressions in Motion podcast special, where today we'll be talking about the London MCM Comic Con Expo and the London Korean Film Festival a bit later on. I'm joined today by the world's second best Scatman. It's Scatman Curtis. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks for that, interesting title. I seriously wasn't sure what was going to follow second best. I'm like, you're going to say second best host or something like that. And I was like, mate, this guy's asking for a backhand. But nah, it's all right. It's all right. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I'm feeling pretty decent. Like, I had a wonderful day yesterday. And I'm excited to talk about it. I don't sound that excited, but that's just because I'm absurdly mellow.
All right, Mellow C. So, do you want to kind of just say to the listeners what the MCM Expo kind of is?
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to do this in the simplest way possible. MCM London Expo is a convention that takes place 2 times a year in May and October. It's basically a convention which features a whole lot of stuff from anime, manga, TV, film, and video games. And it's a nice little place where fans of those several different mediums all come together and celebrate that kind of stuff. They can buy a whole lot of things. Loads of people like to dress up in cosplay and get their pictures taken. People do a lot of strange things there as well. They dance to music. They huddle in little groups and do all sorts of random foreplay stuff like that. It's an interesting place, and the event, since we started going back in 2008, has only expanded numerous times so that the hall has to hold a whole lot more people. But yeah, it's just a wonderful, interesting experience where if you're any kind of nerd, you don't feel out of place because there are a whole lot of people that are just as nerdy, if not more nerdy than you are.
Yeah, it's when we started going in 2008, it was called the MCM Expo, which basically stands for movies, comics, and media. But essentially, it's probably the UK's largest anime convention, really. Although it does have a lot of film, TV, video game stuff there also. And now it's kind of rebranded as Comic-Con, but I think it's really quite different from the American Comic-Con. A much smaller scale, and so you might hear us call it the Expo. No one really calls it that anymore, but we're referring to Comic-Con, or MCM Comic-Con as some people call it. So the title's a bit up in the air at the moment, but yeah, it's a real nice place. It's a real good time, and I guess this is probably if it's not our 10th Expo, it's quite close.
I would be inclined to agree because I was thinking about it. We even had a discussion about it yesterday about how many times we've gone, and I'd actually forgotten, was it one of the in-between years, during our college years, the amount of times we've gone over, and I'm like, crap, I've miscounted then. Because I had counted, at least on my hands, the amount of times that I've personally gone around about maybe 11 or 12, but it might actually be... It's even between 11 and 12 right now. I couldn't tell you without, some sort of photographic evidence or going back through my numerous emails over the years to try and to find the truth. It will be found out one day. Probably not today, but one day.
Yeah, I think you might have gone to the London one once or twice more than me, but I have been to the Manchester one as well, so it must be about 10 times. But I guess the main question is, did you enjoy yourself yesterday?
For the most part, yes. I'm not going to lie. The Expo experience has, I don't want to say it's been on a downward trajectory, but I think it's just because we had so much fun during at least the first 3 years, where it was still this smaller, more, intimate and personal, was it kind of event. And I'm not saying that, the people don't care about the event now. Obviously, it's gotten a lot bigger, so, they've had to make changes to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Accommodate?
Yeah, that's the word. I was gonna say a custom, and I'm like, what sort of stupid thing is that? But yeah, to help accommodate like the larger numbers, and obviously with the amount of special guests and stuff like that they've had come in recently, it's just become a heck of a lot bigger thing. But I do just miss the smaller scale of it, and obviously when it's closer to your first time, it's special. So now these days, it's hard to try and recapture that magic or be wowed by anything that they have, like at later dates. But at the same time, each year brings something different to the table, whether it's the cosplayers or some of the games or special guests or some of the overall features that they have in the hall or talks that they have going on. So I still got a lot of stuff out of it. I had a lot of fun when I wasn't having fun. But yeah, the short answer to your question is yes, I had fun. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. I think nowadays it's going to be really difficult to kind of top our early expo experiences where we went for the whole weekend. We probably should mention it's on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, usually the last weekend in May and October.
Yeah.
We only went for one day this month. But it's still a good time. I feel like we don't really get as much done as we used to. Well, during our first expos, we would roam around all over the place. We'd go to all these talks, meet all these people, buy all these things. We were so young and we were so excited.
Yeah.
Now I feel like we're a bit more cynical, but we kind of just mull around and hang about, kind of take in the atmosphere. But it's just a nice place to be. It's a nice place to kind of meet lots of like-minded people who are all very joyous, energetic. They're having fun. It's just nice to be in that environment. And it just makes you feel really good.
Definitely. I mean, again, it's hard not to harp on the past because it was just such a special time. But I say this because, I've had a few friends that I've gone to the expo with for the first time in the last few years, and I see the sort of wonder and magic in their eyes, and that I see it in their eyes, that same feeling that we had when we did it for the first time. I remember, at least for the first 2 years especially, it was just like, oh my gosh, the MCM London Expo, what an amazing thing. Look at all these people dressed as characters that I know from all these different films and TV shows and stuff. I want to take pictures with them, I want to take pictures of them. Oh my gosh, look at how much merchandise I want to buy. Oh my gosh, my wallet is dying. This is horrible, but I'm having the best time ever. It's all those sort of crazy feelings. And if you was to go there now, I'd assume you'd probably have that same sort of feeling because to a degree, there's a heck of a lot more stuff going on at this convention than there was when we first started. Just a heck of a lot more space for a whole load of extra stuff just to be plonked in the two separate areas. They got two separate areas. When we went there was only one, and it was about maybe half to 3/4 less than one of the main rooms. So you're just let's put it this way, in the first few years you could walk from one side to the other and it didn't take was it 10 to 20 minutes unless it was chock-a-block, but then even then it wasn't as long of a journey. But man, MCM, there's something special about it. It's hard to describe. You have to be there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about all the differences, and you kind of lose that spark over time. But I think it's also because we only went for a day. A lot of people, when we first went, it was only the 2 days on the weekend. Then they added the Friday a couple of years ago. And we've done the event both days. We've done the event 3 days. We've done the event 1 day. And I think it's always when you go for the maximum number of days, it's always the best. You feel like you can really get everything done. You can see everything. You can do a variety of different things. One day you can just, walk around, take in the atmosphere, see what you can see, meet who you can meet. And then the next day you can attend all the talks, meet all the people, get some autographs and stuff like that. And then on the other day you can go around buying things. There's a lot to do there. And for 1 day, it's a lot to kind of take in. So for anyone wanting to go, I would recommend going for as long as you can. And I really would love to try out the 3 days again, because although the event itself is a real great experience,
Yeah.
just going with your friends and you're staying in the hotel and just mulling around outside of Expo with all the cosplayers and Expo people still hanging around, it's just a kind of special little weekend where you're in this bubble where reality is just, it's gone. It doesn't matter anymore. There's this different atmosphere going on, and this different crowd of people, and it's just joy. Really, is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, like I couldn't have put it better myself, man. I mean, the wonderful thing about Expo is there's so many. I consider it almost like a mini holiday, man. You have like just a few hours just to go into this strange world where things that you consider to be like strange aren't that strange anymore, because it's just happening on a near constant basis. From people running around like, with free hug signs, to people having dance battles, to one of my favorite experiences, I think from 2011. We went outside of the expo area and outside of the building towards the backside where the Ibis Hotel is. There's this nice little greenery area, set of stairs where loads of people come out, either take pictures together in massive groups, or just chill outside watching the projection. There's a big old projector which has like trailers for like upcoming films and TV shows and stuff like that. And there was this group of people that just had this big boombox playing the main Pokemon theme song from the 90s show. And I literally just I told Chris I was going to go over there, and I just joined them singing the Pokemon theme song at the top of my lungs with like 20 other people. It was honestly the most perfect moment I'd had, like, I don't know, maybe all year. It's because you can't do that out in like, random streets of London or anything like that. But just there, that all these people are passionate Pokemon fans. They know what's up, so you can just jump in and just sing it and have no shame. And I felt great. So that's just one of the major things that can happen at these kind of events. You can have these just wonderful, interesting, special little moments that you'll take away with you for the rest of eternity. Or very painful, sad memories that will lurk in your mind for the rest of eternity. There's this strange guy I remember from a few years ago. He was dressed as Harry Potter. And this man took the role so absurdly seriously. He made me feel so uncomfortable. He had such a menacing, piercing stare. It looked like he was looking into my soul. I didn't even look at the guy that much. Yeah, he was looking at me from a distance. Crystal has some pictures, I believe, and they only partially illustrate the level of uncomfortable tension and fear that was in my soul.
Didn't he say he was going to do the Cruciatus curse on you?
And the fact of the matter is, I know that's fictional, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it worked. That man, he needs help, man.
Yeah,
God.
There are some people that take it really seriously, but at the same time, it's kind of entertaining. It's just very different from what you'd see from day to day.
Yeah, it's something else. I'll tell you that, criminy. But then, just speaking of the cosplayers real quickly, like one cool thing is for every new film or video game that comes out, there's a whole new batch of interesting cosplayers that come around. And obviously, because of the Marvel films, there's always going to be a whole lot of people that'll be dressed as certain characters from those films, or even the DC films. But then, obviously, because of like games like Overwatch or the Tomb Raider reboot, or that Nier Automata, is that how you say it? There's people that dress as these characters, and it's surprising how quickly some of these people can craft their own, like, costumes and get them so accurate. And bearing in mind, some of these games and TV shows and films have only been out for a few months, and I'm like, you guys are quick. And the amount of detail was absurd. And you just have to run off and like try to find them, because sometimes these people are getting pictures taken, but they're, obviously they're customers just like you, so they have stuff that they need to do themselves. But then you have to keep running around like, oh, sorry, I want to take a picture. I know you want to do something, but I need to take a picture of you. You look great.
So let's talk about, what did you like specifically about yesterday, and what did you dislike?
Oh, the amount of stuff I dislike. Oh, good gravy. I kid. So the stuff I enjoyed from yesterday, I mean, besides hanging around with you, of course.
Your favorite thing always.
Oh yeah, man. Well, firstly, the sense of atmosphere was good, even for a Friday. I mean, Friday has definitely picked up a lot since the last time I went on a Friday. But it's still great to be around people that really, just love all their, different fandoms. How they're all excited about all this different stuff. I really enjoyed that. And I did enjoy playing some of the games as well, because one of my favorite things since going to the expo in 2008 was playing the video games. And while you don't get to play too many because sometimes the lines are absurd, especially for the Nintendo section, I think just because not many people own a Switch, everyone was like huddled around all the games like Splatoon and Mario Kart and New Mario Odyssey, which I still haven't played yet, by the way, which I will soon. But yesterday I got the chance to play Dragon Ball Fighters, which is the new Dragon Ball Z fighting game that's coming out, that's made by, was it Arc System Works? Is that how you see their name? It's basically the studio that made the Blaze Blue games. That game I have been following for a while. It's coming out in 2018, and good gravy, it's even more magical than I imagined, like playing it in person. I couldn't pull off any of the special moves that well, but I won both of my matches against this one guy who came to sit with me, and I was like, man, I feel good. I'm enjoying myself. And the second Ni no Kuni game that's coming out on PS4, I think early 2018, I got to play that as well. I never got around to playing the first one just because I didn't own a PS3 until I think a little ways after that game had come out. But playing the second game, I enjoyed the combat. It's one of those sort of RPGs that has active time combat where you can run around in a little space, attacking enemies from different sides in sort of small yet open 3D space, using ranged and close range attacks as well, so far away attacks, close attacks, and the game looks very nice. Has that sort of nice sort of like a cell shaded kind of look. Yeah, good stuff. And some of the merchandising, especially some of these t-shirts, was off the chain, but I didn't have the money, so I was like, no, I can't go in. This place was trying to lure my wallet, man, but I resisted so well. I think I did a decent job. And I'd say the least favorite thing, I think Chris knows.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, Charles Martinet, for those who don't know, is the voice of Mario. He's been voicing Mario since, I think, was it either Mario Kart 64 or Super Mario 64. And he was going to be at this one segment of the expo hall to do signings, and you just got to meet him and shake his hand and stuff. And me being the massive Mario fan that I am, I've wanted to I didn't even know it was going to be at the expo until literally a few days beforehand. I was like, oh my gosh. So I bought my game, which I wanted to get signed. And bearing in mind, sometimes when you have these signing sessions, you try to line up early. But normally if you have within an hour to a half hour, before said person shows up, you normally have enough time to be able to, meet said person. And he was going to be signing for at least an hour. So normally the smart thing would be to, get a quick conversation in, use the security people to help ease everybody along. But there was a horrible sense of miscommunication because they didn't specify when the guy would show up, and I think for how long each interval would be when he was doing his signings, because there was 3 sets of signings, all taking place over the course of an hour, but then there was 2-hour gaps in between, I think, each signing. And the security people didn't let you know that there was a cutoff point in the line where everybody was lining up. And there were several people still showing up after the cutoff point who didn't know. And the fact that they just didn't let anybody know that there was a select number of people that would actually be able to see him, and they still didn't communicate that over the course of the next 2 signings after we missed the first one. Because literally by the time we'd gotten in, the first signing was literally happening / ending, so there'd be no point in us trying to jump in then. But it goes back to one of the main issues I've had with the expo for a while now. When it comes to having special guests, there's certain requirements sometimes that come with them, and they never let you know beforehand or even on the day. There's no booklet or even security people to let you know. You just basically find out as soon as you get there. And as someone that's such a massive fan, I wish I would, have been told that beforehand, so then I wouldn't get so hyped up about meeting him, just to be told you can't meet him because there's only a select number of people that can meet him, and they've been here since, I don't know, the dawn of time. So yeah, that's probably just the main disappointing thing I'd seen, from the convention. But otherwise, it was still a good time. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, it's the same, because I wanted to meet the guy as well after you told me he's going to be there, and I brought my Mario Kart 64 along. But I think the main problem was they did have a big poster which said his signing times on there, and they were hour-long slots throughout the day.
Yeah.
But we showed up, I think, just before we had an hour and a bit before the signing was due to begin.
Yeah.
But the line was already cut off. There was a security guy at the end who said, "This is the cut-off. Anyone beyond this line pretty much is not guaranteed." And the line itself, it wasn't really a line. That's one of the main problems I have with the expo. There's not really any clear designated area to queue up. It's more like a huddle of people, and you weren't really sure where to go. No one was really sure what to tell you. And he was in a nice area. It was the corner of the hall, so they could have had a nice roped barrier going around, and they did have a tiny part of a queue. When you have rope barriers, it was 4 or 5 sections of queue. I think probably 10 people could fit in there. So there was a couple people in there, and then it just spread out into this mass huddle of people in the corner. So there wasn't really a clear place to queue up and just to see where you should go. So I think that could have been communicated better. And it's a shame to get hyped up for something and then for it not to happen. It was still good seeing the guy, but yeah, it was a bit of a shame.
We had to admire him from a distance. It's just hey dude, we love you, but we can't get near you because security people keep trying to push us away. I echo your sentiments, especially with the lines. Having gone to the expo in the last 2 years, when they've really hammered having special guests at these events, there's always been a problem with lining up, whether it was within the lining up area or lining up outside of the lining up area, because some people like to come there early, and the level of unorganization is just incredible. They've gotten better about it recently, especially because I remember when I went in 2015, the amount of scattered people all over the place, people that were standing in the wrong lines, people that were told to stand in lines by certain security people only to be finding out that you're in the wrong line for about an hour to 2 hours. It's a mess. And you'd think because certain people are coming, they take every precaution to make sure that not only is everything organized so that people who are walking around can still make it through without having to bump into anybody, but also make sure that everybody that's lining up is in the right place at the right time and organized as such. And it's just, well, what are you playing at, guys? Come on, let's step it up.
Yeah, it's a bit hit and miss. I think the Custom House DLR being closed has actually helped the initial lining and getting into the event a bit, because now people have to get off at Prince Regent and you kind of go around the corner and you go through into the building that way, and it's quite seamless. There's not so much queuing as there used to be. I remember the first few times we went, there was so much queuing, and sometimes we'd be letting up to half an hour after the event had already opened, and you just kind of think, well, we could have just showed up then rather than queue in this hall, since we already had our tickets and everything.
Yeah.
But it has gotten better. One thing I do find a bit vexing is that they don't really give you a show guide anymore. First few times we went, they gave a bag. It had some freebies in there. It got the show guide, and I did see some bags yesterday. And I'm not really sure they are for priority people, because I got a priority ticket in May and I didn't get anything then. So I'm not sure if you have to ask, but didn't that guy try to take one and they said no to him? who was in ahead of us in the queue. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it would be nice to have a show guide, because we used to like going to all the kind of talks and events and stuff, you know, the unveilings and of all the new titles for anime and manga and movies and video games and things, and talks with the industry people and the voice actors and the cosplay stuff. But now I had to look up that stuff on my phone. It would just be a lot easier if they did give out show guides like they used to. So yeah, that's what I find a bit disappointing. But these are all kind of minor things. I mean, it's just a minor kind of what's the word for it?
Inconvenience.
Yeah, it's just a minor inconvenience. But you know, they all these things do add up to your, you know, wholesome experience. But you know, it's still a good time. It's the expo, and I can't complain too much because, you know, it's just a bubble of joy, really. Which brings me on to
Bubbles.
What would you say your favorite memories are from the expo? From all the expos we've been.
Besides, obviously the one I mentioned with the Pokemon thing, that was something else. I would also say, so is this more than one, or is it one specifically?
No, more than one. As many as you want.
Okay, so obviously in the first year, well, we met those Afro Samurai guys. Like, there was these guys at an Afro Samurai like stall in the expo hall. These guys were just the best. They were so funny and just strange and charming, and like they were probably like the first sort of like people that we've actually talked to at the event.
Yeah, and just for anyone who doesn't know, Afro Samurai is like I think, is it 4 or 6 episodes long?
I think it's about 6.
Anime series produced by Samuel L. Jackson. Who also does the voice acting. Yeah, it's quite popular. At the time, it was one of the highest budgeted anime going, I think. But yeah, I remember that was our first expo, and the first moment we got in, we saw this stall. I think we probably were their first customers, actually. We went straight up to them.
Yeah.
These two guys, yeah, and we kind of like developed a buddy kind of like bond throughout that day. We'd walk past, you know, say hello. And then the next day, the same kind of thing. Yeah, it's just these sort of things that happened at the expo. You just, these spontaneous connections you have with, you know, fellow fans. You know, it happens in all the time there, and it's just a lot of fun.
Oh, I just remember something. You saying like spontaneous connections. There was one time, I think it was 2012. It was one of my favorite moments in the history of existence. One time, you know, for those who don't know, whenever I go to Expo, since 2008, I've worn a Sonic hat. In the first year, I bought this blue Sonic hat, and then since I forgot my hat, I think was it either in 2009 or 2010, I ended up having to buy a new hat. So I bought a new Supersonic hat. So I was like, yeah, this is the powered up version. But there was one time I was walking through Expo just with my blue Sonic hat on, and there was this one guy I noticed, like, you know, walking sort of towards me, like in my general direction, who had a Knuckles hat on. We literally we just came towards each other, sort of walking past each other. He just raised his hand, we high-fived, and we just walked past each other. I'm like, that was the best thing ever. He knows. And it sounds so stupid, but like, as a Sonic fan, to see, like, you know, another fellow Sonic fan just wearing a hat, he knows what the series is, he knows the respect, just high five and walk away. I'm like, that was the coolest thing ever.
See, that kind of encapsulates everything the expo sort of represents and is about. It's just about fandom and just fun and meeting people that you've never met before, but, you know, you instantly have this kind of bond with. You know, you can just look to your left, look to your right. There's people here, there, and everywhere that you just know you'll get on with, and they're having so much fun, and you're having so much fun. You can go up to chat to almost anyone and just have a nice little conversation and a good time. And that is kind of one of the things that only happens at these events. I was going to say niche events. It's not so much niche these days, but that sort of thing, once you go back after the expo to reality, it's like, damn, I wish that was every day. You know, I could just look over there and, you know, wave at that guy, but it doesn't really happen too often in day-to-day life.
It's horrible because once you've like taken the expo in, it's engulfed you, like, and you feel the magic, like, just flowing through your veins. This is not an exaggeration. This is how the event makes you feel. When it ends and they're saying, "Oh yeah, the expo is over. Get out." As soon as you step out the building, you're on the train home. There is a feeling of depression that kicks in so quickly because the further you get away from the building, it's almost like there's a color filter around you, and the color filter is just like turning from warm colors to, like, is it cold dark blues, and it might as well just start raining and you just play songs like, I don't know, like Mad World or something like that. Well, there was one expo, I think, from 2012 or maybe 14. There was one time I was leaving and I was feeling a little depressed, so to help mitigate that a little bit, there was a song called by Jimi Hendrix called "The Wind Cries Mary." It's one of my favorite jams, and it made it feel like, is it a bittersweet yet hopeful goodbye to, like, the event. It helped mitigate, like, the feeling of sadness a little bit. Sounds strange, but it sometimes having the right kind of music helps, like, is it emotionally soothe one.
Yeah, that feeling when leaving the expo, we've kind of come to refer as the post-expo blues. I'm pretty sure that's a term used by a few other people as well. I'm quite sure I've seen it mentioned. But yeah, I don't know, did the blues hit you yesterday?
I would say slightly, but probably not so much, just because as opposed to other, like, conventions where I got a heck of a lot of stuff done over the course of the day, and, like, probably because in some of the, at least the last 2 years, I've ran into like a lot more of my old friends, and maybe gone in for, like, some of those autographs and pictures and stuff like that. So yesterday was a great time, but I didn't have, like, so much of a sort of depression phase. But that's also because we had something else going on afterwards. So
yeah, I think that really helps that after the expo we had, the London Korean Film Festival to head to, because usually when the expo is finished and it's all done and everybody's leaving, they all hop on the train at the same time. The atmosphere's still high, the energy's high, everyone's still, having a good time. But then you get to the next station and you lose a few people, and then you get to the next station and you lose a few people, and so on. Then you make a few changes, there's a few more expo people kind of hanging around, and then you get on your train home, and you're probably the only one on there that just went to this event. And it's like, damn, here I am, back alone again. All that joy's behind me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good though when we first went, because me, you, and Alon, who was our other friend that used to go with us, we all kind of lived near each other, so we'd travel in together, we'd be at the expo together, we'd stay at a hotel together, we'd do all this stuff, and then when it was over, we'd go back together. So the blues didn't really set in until, like, the day after, or until we got home, because it's not just about the expo, really. The whole event is a lot of fun, but it's also about, just having a good time with friends, and just taking it all in. So yeah, when it's over, it is sad. But they are quite frequent now. And obviously, the one in London's twice a year. There's one in Manchester. There's one in Liverpool. There's one in Birmingham. So yeah, they happen quite frequently. I think the one in Birmingham might actually be in a few weeks. So yeah, but it is sad when it's over.
Indeed. All right, man. Well, what's next?
Well, I haven't mentioned my favorite moments yet, so I guess I'll just briefly list off. Obviously, we've been to so many expos now over 9 years, so it's hard to remember it all. So I kind of list my favorites as the things I remember the most, which is obviously the Afro Samurai Guys' first expo, and just the whole first expo in general was just a very, exciting experience. And then obviously the second time we went the year after in 2009, that's the first time we kind of got a hotel and went for the whole thing. That was very memorable. A couple of the talks have been memorable to me. There was one where Helen McCarthy came in to talk about, Satoshi Kon and kind of anime as an art form, and just all these sorts of films that really education establishments are missing out by not introducing on the same level as, live action films and kind of Western animation. I thought that was quite enlightening. and just some of the people we've met over the years. There was that one time I always remember. I think either Expo had been finished or it was kind of mid-Expo, and me and you were heading into London for some reason, and we met these Bleach cosplayers. There was a guy and a girl, and we had a chat with them on the train. I don't know if you remember that.
It sounds familiar. Keep going.
But yeah, that's just one of those moments where you just, you see somebody from the Expo and you're like, hey, what's going on? Did you have a good time and all that? You just start talking just because you have this kind of, as I mentioned before, this like unspoken bond. And yeah, we just had a good time chatting to them. And there was also a time where me and Alon went off to into London to go to FOP or something, just to get some DVDs or some manga or something from one of the shops there. And we met these people, these two girls that were going to they had just come back from the Expo. They were only going for the day, and we had a chat with them. So yeah, I just like those moments where you just, have this spontaneous kind of moment with people, and it just kind of it stays with you. So it happens a lot at the Expo, thankfully. So
best of times.
All right, so that's pretty much the Expo covered. I mean, we could go on about the Expo for hours and hours and hours, but all you need to know is it's a really good time. And after the Expo, me and Curtis, we headed into central London, good old Piccadilly Circus, to the Picture House Central for a screening of Crime City, which is a new Korean film, also known as The Outlaws, which was part of the London Korean Film Festival, which started up, I think, just 2 days ago on the 26th of October. So yeah, we got to see this new film. And what did you think, Curtis? How was the experience for you as someone who doesn't really go to film screenings, special film screenings very often, and doesn't really watch Korean cinema?
All right, so the interesting thing about this film was that I knew next to nothing about it. I even asked Chris, Chris even asked me, would you like to know anything about the film? And I was like, no. I was like, what genre is it? And I think you told me.
Yeah, I was like, it's sort of a kind of a crime action film, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. And
then I was just like, then I forgot. So then when we went to see the film, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what Chris said, didn't he? So again, I wasn't sure what to expect. And at first, I was just, getting into this world, trying to because as someone that watches more, obviously a lot of Western cinema, exactly how everything works when it comes to certain genres, plot setup, the way certain character archetypes are. When they step into a scene, things just flow because your brain naturally knows how it works because you've seen enough of those films to, grasp how certain things will play out, or just how certain things are established. But with this film, the flavor was different. The tone, the pacing of the humor, and the humor just in general was very different. The way certain things were shot, and also because I've never been a fast reader when it comes to foreign cinema. I am a fairly slow reader, so this is always it's a tricky thing for me because it's a challenge for me to read what's going on as quickly as possible so that I'm still engaged with what's happening. Especially when it comes to
subtitles.
Yeah, sorry, I should have specified that part. But yeah, when it comes to subtitles, it's hard for me to read fairly quickly. So if there's a long sentence happening, or there's a sign, or there's someone's name along with a sign with dialogue on the screen at the same time, it's a case of me having to dart my eyes in one or two different directions just to try and make sure what's going on. And that normally leads to me forgetting who certain characters are, where certain locations are, or just missing certain things entirely. So yeah, with all that in mind, at first I was like, okay, this film is interesting. An interesting tone, an interesting balance between being, fairly lighthearted and comical, but dealing with certain serious subject matter. But as the film progressed, it got really, really, I got really engaged with it. I started to care about these characters, regardless of what moral issues they had, whether they were good guys or bad guys. I really started to become engaged with all these people. And by the end of the film, I was like, bloody hell, that was bloody good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, short answer, I really enjoyed the film. Chris, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Obviously, I probably watch more Korean films than I do English films these days. So yeah, it was just nice to see a Korean film in the cinema for once, because it's so kind of underrepresented over here, unless you live in London. And just to give a bit more background to the event, it's the London Korean Film Festival. I think the first few weeks it's in London, and then it spreads out into other cities across the UK. I think it's hosted by the Korean Cultural Centre UK or something like that. They're called something along those lines, and they kind of sponsor it. And they're based in London. And yeah, the film's directed by Kang Yun-sung. I haven't seen any of his other work, but the film is still actually showing in Korea right now. So it was the UK premiere. And yeah, it was just a really good time. And it kind of has what I mentioned before, the same thing along the lines of the expo, where you're in this kind of room where everyone is there to see this film, if you know what I mean. Where you're at the expo, everyone's there to have a good time. You go to the cinema in general, everyone's there to see a movie, but you know, it's kind of this everyday sort of entertainment. You know, people say, "Oh, let's go to the cinema." But when you have like a one-off screening of a certain film, a particular film, everyone's gone there to see that movie. They're either a fan of the director, or they like the look of the film, or in this case, they're a fan of Korean cinema. And now I don't really know a lot of people that like Korean cinema. So it's just nice to be in that kind of atmosphere, you know, of like-minded people. And the audience was really engaged with the film. It's very funny in parts. And the guy next to you especially, he was having a rapturous time. I mean, he was laughing so loud. But yeah, the audience was just so engaged. And the film itself was real slick, you know, nice and stylish. And just the way it unraveled, and the actors and the plot, just all on point. And the main guy is played by dong-seok, who was in Train to Busan, who some people might have seen. He was the big burly kind of guy, and I recommend you should check that out as well, Curtis. I think you'll like that too. And he was just so great in the role, just very comical, very funny, but also very engaging and emotional when he needed to be. And yeah, when it ended, I just thought, yeah, that was a real good experience. And I wish I could show up for more of the London Korean Film Festival. Some of the films they're showing are actually free. So if you do live in London, I would recommend checking out the London Korean Film Festival website. I don't know if tickets are still available, but you can give it a go. But yeah, it's just a shame that to really see these sorts of films, and well, any kind of foreign film or kind of art film in general, you really have to travel to London, or that's it really. It would be nice if they had a larger representation across the UK, but I know it's to do with profits and all that as well that comes into it. But it's nice to have this opportunity to still see films like this. And yeah, I definitely want to go to some more events and catch some more Korean films in the cinema.
I definitely concur with that statement. I think the main issue is, like, you know, well, in my experience anyway, foreign cinema has always, you know, been, in a lot of cases, just shoved to the back of a lot of you know, cinemas that I've been to. You know, even in Sheffield, like they're pretty good, but I think that's mainly because they have like 21 screens in there, like Cineworld.
Damn.
So there was no shortage of screens that they had for you to go about and check out, like, you know, is it certain foreign films. So when there were films that I could see, or, you know, at least some of the indie films that they had there, they were pretty much all available. And that was like a far cry from where, like, you know, as my hometown is, where there's only 11 screens. And even then, the only foreign films that they show are like the occasional Polish film, or like the certain Bollywood films that they have, which is definitely increased recently. But for all of those films, there's just a whole load of other ones that would never be shown, because I guess they just wouldn't, like, you know, have the interest of anybody here. But I think since London's fairly multicultural, and they also have a lot of like art house, or like, you know, just very important cinemas that represent like all different like styles of film, that's why they end up, you know, I guess in the heart of the UK as opposed to certain other places.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously there's much more of an audience in London, which is why it's kind of all focused there. But I think foreign film these days, I mean, there's a lot of foreign films that are shown on TV, and sometimes Film 4's like main slot will be something from a different country. I think people generally are quite open to watching foreign cinema, so it would be nice if, you know, the big cinema chains and distributors would give foreign film a go, but I know there's a lot of costs involved, and I can say this as kind of like some ignorant kind of guy just sat here chatting about it, but I know there's a lot more details and things to go through to get a foreign film, a wide release like that. But yeah, at least there is an opportunity to see them in London and elsewhere, in Manchester, Birmingham, places like that. And yeah, it was nice to have the director in attendance as well. I can't recall I've ever actually been to a screening where the director of the film was there. So that's just kind of nice to see the creative vision behind that. So yeah.
That was fun. Good times.
Yeah, I definitely want to go to some more. It's just all about timing and costs these days, really, which is another kind of aspect we could have got in when we talked about the expo. When we first started going, we were in college and we had all the time in the world, and we're just to take off for 3 days and just spend all our money. But these days, we've got bills and rent, and we've got to pay for food, and we've got work to go to.
And plus the expo tickets are like double the
yeah,
bloody price they used to be.
Yeah, so, but no, it's a good time, and I guess we can finish off here just by chatting about the journey home.
Okay, yeah.
How did it go for you?
Fairly smooth, actually. I think besides having to stand for a little bit and dealing with these annoying couples that just kept making out all over the place, I'm like, get a room, Christ. Otherwise, I was just able to get on the train back to St. Pancras and then get back on another train, go back home, and yeah, that was pretty smooth. Nothing to complain about. It was a little cold and walk home, but otherwise it was alright. How about yourself?
Yeah, for me it was alright. I got the last train back. I got there in good time, so I didn't have to rush or anything. And it was quite busy, but I got there quite early actually, so I found a nice seat kind of in the corner. I thought the train back is taking about an hour and a half, so I thought I just put my headphones on and just kind of huddle up in the corner here, have a good time, just a little rest. The train started to fill up, and it actually got quite busy, and someone came and sat next to me. And I don't really mind, the seats are free, people can sit where they want. But then there's this woman who sat next to me, but like 20 minutes into the train ride, she started to fall asleep. And when people fall asleep, they're bobbing here, there, and everywhere. And she started to crush me up against the window. And like her head was kind of leaning so close to me. I was just kind of like getting all squished up. And I was like, oh my God. So I didn't know. I'm not going to be rude about it. People are tired, they're tired. I was tired as well. So I didn't kind of like nudge her away, like push her on the floor or anything. I kind of just like moved my arm in a way that she'd kind of like slip and wake up. And I had to do that a few times, but eventually she kind of like positioned her body where all her weight was coming onto me, and I was just like, oh my God. I was just starting to vex up. I was getting so mad. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's a free seat next to you. Can you just move over there and give me some space? But she just didn't move. I don't know if she was just totally wiped out, but yeah, she was just sleeping on me basically. I just got so annoyed in the end that I just got up and I said, excuse me please, and moved. I like went down the train to a different seat. But it's just so annoying. I was like, where is your consideration? Come on.
Oh my gosh.
It was just irritating. But yeah.
Oh gosh, you poor man. Like that just sounds like the worst. I'd probably like I would have just said something. I'd be like, fuck off.
I mean, I didn't want to be rude about it because I was tired as well, and like for the first half before she started crushing me, I was like having a little doze against the window myself. I mean, I wasn't inconveniencing anyone like her, but I can kind of understand. This was at like 1 a.m. on a Friday night, so yeah, people are going to be tired. But it's just I hate it when people just come onto like the train or a public place and just do whatever the hell they want and act like they can do that. They just don't have any consideration, and it just really annoys me. And I didn't move till like the last portion of the journey. I wish I moved earlier. So yeah, that kind of it's so annoying. But once I got to my station, it's real peaceful. I mean, I start work around a similar time, and I always like walking to work because it's just pitch black, nobody's around, and it's just a nice peaceful walk. But yeah, I got back I think around 2 a.m. in the end. But so apart from getting crushed on the train by this woman who was just falling asleep against me, it was all right. But all in all, it was a good day. And as we talk now, people are actually at the expo right now. And I kind of wish I was still there. But,
Me too.
we've got to face reality and I've got to go to work in a few hours. And so do you.
Same.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's just the worst, man. Like, this time, you know what? No, it has to happen. May will be like the full-on session. Ain't no chance. There ain't leaving nothing to chance. It's going to be just the full thing.
All right, so May, we'll do the full 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get a hotel and
Yeah.
everything. All right, so
We'll do it live.
what's
do
that?
It live.
Oh, we'll do a live recording show. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
What is it? What's May? That's like in 7 months' time. Yeah, our podcast will be known by maybe 2 or 3 people by then. So.
Oh, yeah, heck yeah, man. I'll market the hell out of it.
All right. Do you want to say goodbye to these fine people?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. You're wonderful. And see you later.
All right. So the next episode will be a bit later because this is kind of like a special segment that we've recorded just because we want to chat about the expo. The next one will probably be in 2 weeks or so. So yeah, stick around for that then on our pages. What is it on SoundCloud? Have you got this on SoundCloud?
Yeah, man. Like, what's the URL? I need to check that. Yeah. So literally SoundCloud/Impressions in Motion, all one word, no hyphens and no.
What? Not SoundCloud.com/impressionsinmotion.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's what
alright.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll get this up on YouTube and yeah, check out the descriptions. Can you have a description on SoundCloud?
Oh yeah. Well, in the description, it'll literally just say what the episode's about, and have links to our blogs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
All right, cool.
it's
Yeah.
available.
So yeah, we'll get the descriptions all sorted out and filled out with our social stuff if you want to chat to us, connect with us.
Well, hey,
All right. So goodbye. We'll see you
peace.
next time.
Bye bye.